The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, a tale of blood, ambition, and destiny. The story of the Roman Empire is one of breathtaking ambition and relentless power. Born from the ashes of a small republic, Rome grew to dominate the ancient world, its legions marching from the windswept hills of Britannia to the sands of Egypt. Great leaders rose and fell: Julius Caesar, Augustus, Nero, each shaping destiny with bold decisions and tragic flaws. Yet, beneath the splendor, internal strife and corruption brewed, leading to a slow, inevitable decline. Rome's legacy endures, echoing through history. The spark that lit an empire. Picture this: it's 44 BCE and Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in the known world, lies bleeding on the Senate floor, stabbed 23 times by his closest allies. As his blood pools beneath Pompey's statue, few could imagine that this moment of seeming collapse would actually catalyze the birth of the greatest empire in human history. Caesar's assassination wasn't the end of Rome's story. It was the violent birth pang of an imperial dynasty that would dominate 3 continents for over 4 centuries. The Roman Empire didn't emerge from a vacuum. It rose from the ashes of a republic that had already conquered most of the Mediterranean through a combination of military brilliance, political cunning, and sheer ruthless determination. But what transformed Rome from a city-state into a continental superpower wasn't just conquest. It was genius-level political innovation, wrapped in an almost supernatural ability to absorb, adapt, and improve upon everything they encountered. From republic to empire. The Octavian Gambit. Caesar's death created a power vacuum that his grandnephew Octavian exploited with Machiavellian precision. At merely 18, this seemingly unremarkable young man outmaneuvered seasoned generals, eliminated rivals through a combination of political alliances and calculated betrayals, and ultimately defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. When Octavian returned to Rome, he performed perhaps the most brilliant political sleight of hand in history. He claimed to restore the Republic while secretly establishing himself as its first emperor, taking the name Augustus. Augustus didn't just seize power, he revolutionized it. He created a professional army loyal to the emperor rather than individual generals, established an efficient tax system that funded massive public works, and implemented a civil service that could actually govern an empire spanning from Britain to Mesopotamia. Under his 45-year reign, Rome transformed from a war-torn republic into a prosperous, stable empire that would be remembered as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. The early emperors understood something crucial. Successful empire isn't just about conquest, it's about integration. Rome didn't merely subjugate its enemies, it absorbed them. Defeated peoples could become Roman citizens, their gods could join the Roman pantheon, and their brightest minds could rise to positions of power in Rome itself. This wasn't mere tolerance, it was strategic genius. By making Roman identity expandable rather than exclusive, they created a self-reinforcing system where conquered peoples had incentives to become Roman rather than rebel against Rome. The Golden Age, when roads led to glory. At its zenith under emperors like Trajan and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Empire was a marvel of human organization. Roman engineers built roads so durable that many still exist today. Aqueducts that supplied fresh water to cities of over 1 million people, and architectural wonders like the Pantheon that continue to inspire awe nearly 2 millennia later. Roman law created legal principles that still form the foundation of modern jurisprudence, while Roman literature, philosophy, and art set standards that influenced European culture for centuries. But here's what made Rome truly extraordinary. It was arguably history's most successful multicultural experiment. In the empire's markets, you could hear Latin, Greek, Aramaic, Celtic, and dozens of other languages. Roman citizenship was eventually extended to nearly every free person in the empire, creating a shared identity that transcended ethnic boundaries. A general could be born in Spain, educated in Athens, serve in Britain, and retire to a villa in Gaul, all while remaining proudly Roman. The crack in the foundation. Yet even at its height, the empire contained the seeds of its own destruction. The very size that made Rome powerful also made it vulnerable. Communication across the empire took months, making centralized control increasingly difficult. The military, which had created the empire, gradually became its master rather than its servant. Emperors rose and fell based on military support, creating a cycle of civil wars that drained resources and destabilized institutions. The 3rd century brought what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century, a 50-year period that saw 50 emperors, most dying violent deaths. Inflation ravaged the economy, barbarian tribes pressed against the frontiers, and plague decimated the population. For a moment, it seemed the empire might simply disintegrate into chaos. The Christian Revolution and division. But Rome's genius for adaptation struck again. Emperor Constantine not only stabilized the empire, but fundamentally transformed it by embracing Christianity, a religion that had been persecuted for centuries. This wasn't just a personal conversion. It was a strategic masterstroke that gave the empire a new unifying ideology just when its old civic religion was losing power. However, the empire's challenges had grown too massive for even Constantine's genius to solve permanently. His successors made a fateful decision. They divided the empire into western and eastern halves, believing 2 emperors could govern more effectively than one. This division, intended as a solution, ultimately accelerated the empire's fragmentation. The barbarian transformation. Here's where the story takes its most dramatic turn. The traditional narrative speaks of barbarian invasions, but modern historians recognize something far more complex. A gradual transformation where Germanic tribes didn't so much conquer Rome as become Roman themselves. Many barbarian leaders served as Roman generals, adopted Roman titles, and maintained Roman institutions, even as they carved out independent kingdoms. The Western Empire's end came not with a bang, but with a whimper. In 476 CE, a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, ironically named Romulus Augustulus, after both Rome's legendary founder and its first emperor. But Odoacer didn't destroy Roman institutions. He simply ruled through them with a different title: the Phoenix that never quite died. The Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, continued for another 1,000 years, finally falling to the Ottomans in 1453. But even this wasn't the end of Rome's story. The Holy Roman Empire claimed Roman succession in Western Europe, while the Russian Empire styled itself as the Third Rome. Napoleon crowned himself in Roman fashion, and even Hitler's Third Reich drew inspiration from Roman symbols and organization. The Eternal Empire. Rome fell because it became too successful for its own governmental structures to contain. The very qualities that made it great, adaptability, inclusiveness, and administrative efficiency, couldn't overcome the fundamental challenge of governing a continental empire with ancient technology and medieval communication systems. Yet in another sense, Rome never fell at all. Roman law forms the basis of legal systems worldwide. Romance languages carry Latin in their DNA. Democratic ideals, architectural principles, urban planning concepts, and administrative practices all trace back to Roman innovations. The United States Senate meets in buildings designed to evoke Roman architecture, while concepts like citizenship, republic, and constitution come directly from Roman political theory. The Roman Empire's greatest victory wasn't military, it was cultural. By creating a template for civilization that balanced local autonomy with central authority, individual achievement with collective responsibility, and cultural diversity with shared identity, Rome created a model that continues to influence how we organize societies today. Perhaps that's the real secret of Rome's immortality. Empires that rule through force alone die with their armies. But empires that transform how people think about civilization itself become eternal, not in their political structures, but in their ideas. Rome didn't just conquer the world. It taught the world how to think about conquest, governance, law, and identity in ways that still shape our modern existence. The Roman Empire rose through genius, ruled through adaptation, and fell through success. But in falling, it scattered seeds of influence that continue to grow in every corner of human civilization. That, perhaps, is the most Roman victory of all.